Hello and welcome once again to my coronavirus update videos, where I just kind of give little reflections that don't really have much to do with anything while we're all kind of in quarantine or semi-quarantine. And what I've got for you today really falls into that line. I'm currently making my way through a Cold War era spy thriller on Netflix, and I'm loving it. I've loved this stuff for a while. I've actually read the book. Tinker, Tailor, Soldier Spy. And as I'm watching it, I know from reading the book that a double agent is a fundamental part of the story. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, what the double agent is doing is a lot like what the devil does. And I'm going to explain where I'm coming from on that. We're not there yet. Before I get into the spirituality of all of that, we need to talk a little bit about a double agent and how they operate in Cold War era spy thrillers. So as you can see here from my the very height of my artistic talent, we've got the double agent in the middle. He's got a frowny face because, as we all know, double agents are bad guys. And I gave him a goatee too because, just because. If you have a goatee, ignore that, you look great. And we have side one and side two. I just made them buildings because I don't want to pick sides. That doesn't matter. I could have made side one the Pentagon or side two like the Kremlin, but again, that doesn't matter. Now for Tinker, Tailor, Soldier Spy, it's England and Russia. So let's just pretend side one is England, side two is Russia. In the book, and they explain this, in the book, here's what the double agent is doing. Here where the arrows come from. The double agent is taking information from side two, the Russians, and giving it to the British, and likewise taking information from the British and giving it to the Russians. And what the double agent needs to do in order to survive, both sides think that he's their asset. So the British think that they are getting information from their spy on Russia, and Russia thinks the exact same thing, only reverse. And the secret, apparently, to being a successful double agent, let's say for the sake of argument, the double agent is in fact Russian. That is his true allegiance. He is actually spying on the British. The secret is that the double agent needs to take as much valuable information from side one as he can, without giving away his identity, of course, and passing it on to his team, the Russians. And at the same time, he needs to feed information to the British that seems as valuable as possible while giving away as little actual intelligence. In the book, they actually gave a term for that. It's something like junk intelligence. It seems valuable. It seems like he's their agent, that he's doing great work, but in fact, the information he's giving is not nearly as valuable as it seems at first sight. And that's how a double agent is able to navigate belonging to two organizations while clearly serving one over the other. And I found that very fascinating, very interesting read. Excellent book, by the way. And here's where the devil comes in. I say again, this double agent is essentially doing what the devil does. Give him some nice devil horns. Give him a pitchfork while I'm at it. That was a terrible pitchfork, I apologize. Side one and side two. What if side one is good and side two is bad? I'm not going to bother writing it all out because the easel's a little wobbly, but side one is everything we genuinely care about. It's involving justice and faith and dignity and all the things that God really wants out of us in life. And bad, it's everything. Everything bad, I mean. It's slavery. It's selfishness. It's greed. It's abuse. It's crossing the streams. All of that is in the bad. What the devil loves to do is he loves to mix the truth with lies. If the devil just completely just goes hog wild on the bad, just 100% undiluted badness, that normally doesn't help him very much. Because when real badness, real evil, rears its head, people have a tendency to unite and resist that badness. When there is absolute evil on the horizon, we have a tendency to stand up for what's right. Because when there's just badness in front of us, we can recognize it. That's not normally the devil's style. The devil is more subtle. He mixes the lies with the truth, and he kind of tricks us into taking it a little bit at a time. So we're side one, and the devil kind of feeds us some information that seems good and powerful and useful on the surface. But in fact, it is junk intelligence. It is not as valuable as we think it is. And in the meantime, he's feeding us all of that bad stuff and slowly eroding whatever advantages we may have in that battle of good versus evil. And we always do have advantages. So what I'm saying is this. Sometimes you need to focus, and you have to be willing to recognize what is really important, because the adversary, that force that is trying to distract you away from God, sometimes he'll make a clever point. Sometimes what that adversary is saying to us actually kind of makes sense. And we need to have the wisdom to separate the truth from the falsehood. I have a hunch that some of you need an example to understand what I'm talking about here. Proof texting is when you take a phrase of the Bible, like a verse or two, and you use it to justify whatever cause or agenda that you have to forward. And that can be very dangerous, taking the Bible out of context. So in terms of the devil mixing lies and truth, one black stain on our history as Christians, in my opinion, it took us way too long to realize that slavery was a genuinely bad thing. And I'm talking about the colonial era of the United States. And there was a point where people, civil leaders and all of that, were recognizing slavery as something genuinely wrong, something worth resisting. And there were a fair number of Catholic leaders, bishops or major Catholic members of the community that defended slavery because slavery is in the Bible. There are slaves in the Bible, and they used that to sort of justify the continuation of I presume plantations or whatever else they were using the slaves for. That's a good example of the devil playing both sides. He can whisper into the ears of the faithful, hey, this is in the Bible, therefore it's okay. When in fact, when we read the Bible with the eyes of faith, there's more to it than that. The Bible does have slavery, but the Bible also has people, just the entire book of Exodus right there, where God is telling the Israelites slavery is something that should be resisted on a very spiritual level. And later in the Pentateuch, God does give instructions to the Jews saying, You need to be nice to, the aliens and the transients in your territory because you were once slaves in Egypt. You should remember how horrible it was. So if there are others among you, you need to treat them with the same brotherly love that you show each other. So again, the Bible is complicated. It takes wisdom to read it the right way. And to just pick one line that justifies one thing or another, that's the devil feeding you junk information and leading you to the bad side. Have the wisdom to recognize the difference between lies and truth. The devil will not be able to make progress with you if you are willing to see things as they really are and recognize when and where God is present in your life and to what God is calling you to do in the person he's calling you to be. So that's the lesson for today. I hope that makes sense. And as always, thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for my next video where we cover the overview of Holy Week and how we can best celebrate it at home, as we in all likelihood will not be able to join each other in church. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.